At the University of California, Irvine campus, Muslim students shouted down Israeli ambassador to the United States, Michael Oren, 11 times. On Turkey's national television, a primetime special portrayed Israeli soldiers executing Palestinian women and children in cold blood. Former Israeli Defense Forces Chief Moshe Ya'alon canceled his trip to Spain, fearing he'd be arrested on charges of war crimes. In March, dozens of cities held Israel Apartheid Week, comparing Israel to the former apartheid state of South Africa. What's happening from the West Coast to the West Bank and around the world? When Israel was founded in 1948, its enemies outnumbered and outgunned tiny Israel on the battlefield. But now, more than 60 years later, Israel boasts the strongest military in the Middle East. No longer able to defeat Israel militarily, some say Israel's enemies have shifted to another battlefield, the worldwide court of public opinion. It's spreading the notion that Israel is so bad, so racist, and so evil, it no longer has a right to exist. It's an attempt to wipe Israel off the map, not with a nuclear bomb, but with slander, and to promulgate the idea of a world without Israel. Supporters of Israel see a very real and growing threat, a campaign often coordinated to delegitimize Israel, to undermine the very existence of the Jewish state.
No more money for Israel's crime!
You have an alliance, what many have called the Red-Green Alliance, where you have, on the one hand, the leftists, political movements, both in the United States and in Europe and throughout the Western world, joining forces very openly with Islamists, with radical Muslims, and even moderate Muslims for that matter, saying that Israel has no right to exist.
My concern that other people, liberal, people of goodwill, people who don't know much about this area, will be fall into this trap. And accept and slowly accept the notion that really Israel is the new pariah.
Many of Israel's supporters point to the latest attempt to delegitimize Israel, the UN Commission Goldstone report. The report accuses Israel of war crimes against civilians during Operation Cast Lead, Israel's battle to stop Hamas from firing rockets into Israel's southern communities. But retired U.S. General Jerry Boykin finds those charges groundless.
The Israelis were very careful not to target civilian targets, and if they did target a civilian target, to let the occupants there know that they were going to strike. And the Goldstone report tells exactly the opposite.
The Goldstone report is the son of Mohammed al-Dura.
Mohammed al-Dura is the young Palestinian boy who was allegedly killed in 2000 by Israeli soldiers at the start of the Palestinian Intifada. For the past decade, he's become the symbol of Israeli brutality. Yet French citizen Philippe Carcenti took France 2 television to court and claimed the footage videotaped by the France 2 cameramen was staged. In May 2008, a French court ruled in Carcenti's favor. Yet he says the impact of this hoax and the Goldstone report has been devastating, especially in Europe.
Even the best friend of Israel, the people who wanted to support Israel, say, no, now it's game over. We cannot defend you after what we've seen, the war crimes.
Former Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Dori Gold, says groups like Hamas have a goal in delegitimizing Israel.
The purpose is to tie the hands of Israel so that Hamas maintains the right of resistance, of fighting Israel. But at the same time, Israel has no right of self-defense to respond.
But while Israel may be the main target of this effort, some warn it may be just the first domino in a long line.
It should be very worrying because we have seen that when Israel is delegitimized and assaulted, both diplomatically, politically, as well as militarily, it is only a precursor of what is to come to the rest of the free world.
This could mean American military officers battling al-Qaeda in Iraq or the Taliban in Afghanistan might find themselves accused of war crimes if they're responsible for unintended civilian casualties. So, how can Israel fight such an effort?
To call all people of goodwill to take action.
How well Israel fights on this battlefield may well determine its own survival, and may also be a bellwether for democracies around the world. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.